We're live. Okay, so I now look at that camera. I never know where to look.
Look at the camera
Okay.
right. Yes, that one.
Okay.
Not the one behind you.
Got it. Hi, guys. It's Tara Marie. So just like I said in the preview, I'm here with Dr. Patricia P. Selassie. In case you're wondering what the heck is going on, we're in the room where I do my podcast, my weekly podcast. And this week we're simulcasting it on Facebook Live. So we're going to be streaming the pre-record of the podcast. And we've got Chad on the board. Chad, say hello.
Hello.
And everybody now, Chad, you're becoming kind of like a third character in the on the show.
Yeah.
People now are starting to ask, what's Chad's deal? What does Chad look like? So why don't we start like a big thing, like a big mystery? One day you've got to keep watching. Whenever we stream these, you've got to watch. One day I will bring Chad into the room. Okay.
Bring
and
it
you'll
on,
get to see him. But just as an FYI, ladies, he's easy on the eyes.
Oh, you're sweet.
So
I appreciate that.
So this is what we're doing. So you've got Chad. I'm Tara Marie. This is Dr. Patricia P. Selassie. She's a naturopathic physician and a certified nutrition specialist. Get ready to watch this. This is going to be a great show. We're talking about naturally balancing thyroid function from the perspective of a naturopathic physician. So if you've ever wondered what it looks like to watch a pre-record of a podcast in progress, you're in luck.
Hey,
so
Tara.
Chad, yeah.
Oh, we need to get that screen grab. So smile, everyone, for the camera.
All right. So wait,
And
Chad.
this is really behind the scenes stuff we're showing people right now.
Screen grab. All right. So just make your papers look good. Okay.
Yeah, this is really behind the scenes.
All right. So we'll just kind of do like a. Does this look good, Chad?
That looks good.
Wait. Let me get my smile normal, natural. I don't smile naturally when I'm. Okay. Ready? Okay.
They'll be able to grab that. Thank you.
Was that good?
That was great. Yeah, you both look very happy to be here on our.
You swear that looks
so
good.
happy to
that
be
looks
here.
good.
Yeah, it's Friday night.
Can we do one more just in case?
Why not?
Okay.
It's not like yes. Excellent. Thank you, ladies.
Now, does that look like I was looking in the camera or I was looking up at you?
You were looking. I can't tell. I can barely see with my glasses on.
Okay, let me do one more looking at the camera. You ready?
It's like we're a routine, a married couple here. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to be quiet, Tara. We are ready to start Tara Marie Live, all right?
But you'll talk if we want you
of
to.
course, but I'm just going to be quiet now, and the clock will start when you start.
Okay. All right. And we love Chad.
Love you too,
Okay.
ladies.
All right. Should I just do a 3, 2, 1, Chad?
Yes, that will help for editing on the podcast.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Well, hello and welcome to Tara Marie Live. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're a first-time listener, thank you and welcome to my show. For my regulars, I always appreciate you coming back. I am your host, Tara Marie Segundo, and I'm a fitness expert, a personal trainer, and a motivational strategist. And I'm here in the Hangar Studios in beautiful New York City. Tara Marie Live is about mental, emotional, physical, social, and spiritual health. And each week, I want to bring you information that will make you think about your life and the choices you're making, with the idea that maybe there are things that you could tweak a little that'll help you yield better results and optimize your health and happiness. So right now we're simulcasting on Facebook Live, so hello to everybody. If you're hearing this show as a podcast and you want to watch it, go to my YouTube channel, it's Tara Marie Live, and find the video called Naturally Balance Thyroid Function, because it's posted there by the time you hear this as a podcast. Well, I gave away the subject of this week's show. We're talking about thyroid health, and rather, in this case, thyroid dysfunction, because I know that so many of us are walking around unaware that our thyroid glands are not working properly. And I was one of those people. I'm 52 right now, and 19 years ago, I just wasn't feeling right. I was 33 years old. I was a full-time fitness instructor and personal trainer, and I was what people would consider healthy, but I just wasn't feeling right. And I was tired a lot. I was sometimes depressed, just kind of feeling kind of blah. I had cold hands and feet. My menstrual periods were really irregular. They were kind of all over the place. I wasn't what you would call fat by any means, but I had more body fat than I wanted to have. And at that time, I went to an endocrinologist and I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is it's a form of hypothyroidism, which is slow thyroid. And then at that time, I started taking Armour Thyroid and I started to feel better and my symptoms improved. Now, back then, when I was 33, 19 years ago, I didn't fully understand the interplay between all the organs of the body. and how Western medical doctors really only test thyroid hormones when diagnosing a thyroid problem, really without considering other health factors. In the last 20 years, I've really cleaned up my health. I've improved it by changing how I eat, how I drink, the air I breathe, the amount of sleep I get, and I've really cleaned up my body and I've balanced my health. And the result of that is that now at 52, I actually need less thyroid medication than I did when I first started when I was 33, 19 years ago. So, this is really my goal for you. If you suffer with symptoms of any disease, not just thyroid dysfunction, but any disease, I would hope that rather than just merely looking at one organ, the one organ that you think is struggling, look at your whole body. Look at how your body functions as a whole. Respect the interplay of your organs with each other and do what you can do to balance your health by proactively cleaning up your life to the extent that you can and controlling the things that are within your control, because obviously a lot is not. So let me just ask you these questions as we lead into this show that's about thyroid imbalance. Are you feeling any of these things? Do you ever feel kind of, I'm going to say inexplicably, because obviously we all have reasons to feel different symptoms from time to time, but do you generally feel fatigued? Do you generally or often feel depressed? Do you feel fat and frustrated with that? Like you feel like, gosh, I'm doing all the right things. What the heck's going on? Do you feel confused about it? Like, wait a second, I'm doing what I was doing last year, but now all of a sudden it's not working. Do you feel overwhelmed with life? Do you feel moody? Do you feel irritable? Do you have hair loss? A little bit or a lot? Do you have puffy eyes? Do you have an inability to concentrate? Ladies, do you have irregular menstrual cycles? Are you trying everything that you know to try to feel better and nothing's working? Because that's where I was. And if that's where you are, your thyroid very well may be out of whack. So today's your lucky day because I brought in one of my favorite guests, and she's also a listener favorite. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Patricia P. Selassie. Dr. Selassie is a naturopathic physician and a certified nutrition specialist. She blends evidence-based naturopathic medicine with a very intuitive coaching style when she works with her patients. And here in New York City, she's a very popular instructor at the Open Center. And she also has worked as a radio host herself. She's been dishing health advice to eager listeners for years. So everybody welcome Dr. Patricia P. Selassie, and this is our second show together. We first did a show, people who regularly listen to the show, it was called Detoxification and Fat Loss,
Right.
which perfectly sort of segues into this, because one of the things that we're going to talk about that you address with your patients when addressing a thyroid issue is getting rid of the toxins, because again, you've got to get your body machinery working smoothly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you want to hear that show, if you're new to my podcast, go to taramarie.com. That's my website, taramarie.com. All episodes are listed there. If you just go to Tara Marie Live, there's a link, there's a tab for the all episodes page. Scroll down with Dr. Patricia P. Selassie. It was called Detoxification and Fat Loss. So let's just jump into this. I wanted to do a show about thyroid health. And this is one of the things that I would call this probably one of your specialties, one of your core specialties.
Yeah, one of my core specialties. I'm seeing lots of thyroid patients in my practice. I see
Yeah.
everything really, but this
Right.
is one of those ones. I'm not sure if I'm attracting them. I think I probably am, but it
Yeah.
is also on the rise. Like we're having
Yeah.
more and more people dealing with this issue. So
Exactly. And the thing is as I was doing research for this show, reading through the PowerPoint presentations, because again, she does a lot of teaching. As I was reading through the PowerPoint presentations, I was reading basically why I ended up getting Hashimoto's thyroiditis. We're going to talk about that. So because I've always wondered why, like, why did I, and then as I was reading your presentations to prepare, I said, oh, that's why I got it. I mean, nothing's a mystery. It's kind of the way we're living.
Right.
So I want to really jump in and start with the idea that you are a naturopathic physician. There's allopathic medicine and shall we call it complementary, or what do you call Chinese medicine, natural medicine, naturopathic medicine?
Alternative works, but I'm looking forward, honestly, Tara Marie, to the day that alternative medicine. So like you said, Chinese medicine, naturopathic medicine,
Is the
homeopathy
yeah.
is the main form,
Yeah.
and that allopathic becomes the alternative. You know what? Honestly, we
Yeah.
have to have it all. You
You
know what I mean?
do.
There's a time when you need to go to the hospital. There's times when
Yeah.
you need to see the medical doctor to
The
get
MD, yeah.
the MD to get, your prescription medication, like Tara Marie's. You mentioned that you're on
Armor,
less
yeah.
medication, but you
Much
still have to
less.
go to a doctor to get that prescription.
Mhm.
So I'm a naturopathic physician. We focus on health. The allopaths, they might focus on disease suppression,
Mhm.
but the naturopath focuses on getting you healthy. And so they do go hand in hand, because sometimes you do, if you haven't gotten your lifestyle and your health together like Tara Marie has, then you're
Right.
going to be more dependent on the medicine. But my goal is always to help support your body so your body can support itself.
Right. So what I did essentially, so basically I was 33 years old. At the time I wasn't, well, I was working a bit with Chinese medicine doctors, but when I knew that my thyroid was out of whack, I went straight to an endocrinologist. He tested. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, a form of hypo, suppressed thyroid function. And what happened was after that, I started taking more control over what I was doing that was causing my own problems. A lot of times we, not meaning to, cause our own problems by the way we're eating, the way we're drinking, the air we're breathing, the things we're putting on our body, all
Right.
these things. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little wiser and I've learned a little more and I've implemented more. So again, a naturopathic physician, the one big thing that I love about naturopaths, like Dr. Selassie, is you tend to look at all the organ systems working in concert. So when I went to the endocrinologist, I told him we diagnosed me with a thyroid problem. So he looked at my thyroid. If I went to you with the same complaints, you look at thyroid, liver, adrenals, kidney function. You look at everything.
Right. I'm more going to be like, I know you're coming here for a thyroid problem, but tell me when your health problem started. And you'll
Yeah.
probably say a story similar to the story you just told at the beginning of the show, that you were 33 and you thought you were doing all these right things, but then you started to feel off. And then I would systematically go through your whole body and say, well, what was off? Was it, and we'd go head to toe.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about your hair. Tell me about did you have puffiness
Skin,
around the
yeah.
eyes? What are your skin like? And then
Yeah.
that kind of paints a whole picture for me. Because if that's one of the problems, if you narrow in on just the thyroid, for example, then it's going to, there might be other things we're missing. Like, for example, one woman with a thyroid disorder, maybe she's having, I guess what I'm trying to say is, not everybody looks the same. Like not every woman with a thyroid issue is going to present the same
No,
way.
yeah.
And so treatment and recommendations are going to be different depending on that person.
Right.
So we do have to look, like, maybe thyroid disorder is affecting one woman's skin and one woman's metabolism or her ability to burn fat, but the other woman is just having infertility issues, but she's doesn't seem to have a problem with body fat at all. So,
Right.
Yes, you have to look at the whole person. You just have to make sure that there's not a underlying misdiagnosis. And I think that that's what happens
Right.
actually when people come to the medical doctor and they might say, oh, I can't lose weight. And he'll say, well, you need to, or she'll say, well, you have to go on a diet, but maybe there was an underlying thyroid issue,
Well, that's what I wanted to say. You say that thyroid dysfunction is often masked and misdiagnosed as depression, high cholesterol, PMS, even menopause.
Yeah, absolutely. So a patient might feel depressed. That's what they're feeling. They're not like, oh, I feel my thyroid is non-functioning. That's not how it presents.
No.
This person might go to the doctor and say, I'm depressed. And the doctor doesn't ask any other questions about what else is going on in their body, what other symptoms they're dealing with. And they might just prescribe an antidepressant.
Right.
Or some women and men with thyroid disorder, the first thing that might start happening is they get what we like to call thyroid brain. So they might be like, oh, where did I put my keys again? Or what's my grandkid's name? I can't remember.
And you think, oh, it's just menopause.
Why did I go?
Yeah.
You think, oh, it's just menopause, or I'm getting old, and you might even go and tell your doctor, oh, I'm having some like age
Related.
age-related, brain fog or whatever. And the doctor might say, well, you are older than the last time I saw you, but really there's a thyroid issue.
And for me, like I said, for me, I had depression. I had cold hands and feet. Wackadoodle periods, just wacko.
And so
And the doctor,
imagine-
the doctor thought that she goes, well, but you're a fitness instructor. You're overactive. You're exercising so much. So I get it. Like I get the frustration, and that's what partially this show is about. You deal with people. Some of the people who come to you are at the end of their rope. They've gone to other doctors and been told that they're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some clients that have had a difficult story. Like, can I tell the story of Helen? I think I told you about Helen. Yeah, and actually Helen's name is a different name, but
Yeah.
I call
Helen.
her Helen
Yeah.
to protect her identity. But Helen was a woman that she, all in the same year, and this is important. This is why I ask my patients a lot of questions about their history, because their psychosocial history is important too. Within 1 year, she met the love of her life, and her aunt, who practically raised her, died, and then she got married, all within 1 year. So
12
she
months, yeah.
12 months. Her aunt, who was like a mother to her, passed away, and she met the love of her life and got married. So a lot of stress, if you can imagine, stress
Some of
and
it
grief
good,
and
some of it-
happiness.
yeah.
But it's intense, and stress, even if it feels good, can still
For a
wreak
wedding, yeah.
can wreak havoc on
Yeah.
your body. So after she got married, they wanted to start a family. They wanted to start their family right away, and she was not getting pregnant, and she
How
was
old was she?
also 33.
Aha, a lot of stuff happens at 33.
Yeah. Oh, that was your age too.
Yep.
And she's, 33. She wanted to get started right away. She's not getting pregnant, and not only that, but she gained 30 pounds in 3 months. So she was just literally watching herself get larger and larger. And she's like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? And she went to her doctor, and her doctor tested her, and she was exhausted too. And the doctor tested her.
But she had been through her wedding, a death. I mean,
Yeah.
so it looked like, oh, it's been an exhausting year. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the doctor said to her.
Mhm.
And he's like, because your lab report shows that you're healthy. And she was like, healthy? I feel horrible, but okay. So desperate, because she's like, why am I gaining all this weight? Like, what do I need to do to help me with fertility? She starts checking with Mr. Google, and she finds out that thyroid disorder can cause lots of the issues that she was having. Fatigue.
Question. Did her MD check her thyroid function in the lab work, or?
Yeah, he did.
And he was
but
normal.
Right, and it was normal. They usually only test one test, which is thyroid stimulating hormone. And if that's off, then they may test further. But I don't necessarily recommend that, because thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, is actually the last lab really to go up. Once
To go awry,
or
yeah.
to go awry is probably less confusing. To go awry before you're having a problem.
I
It's
got
the
it.
last one to really
Well,
go
and that's
awry.
what I wanted to, and I don't mean to interrupt your Helen story, but that's what I wanted to say. I was diagnosed when I was 33. I'm not saying that's when symptoms started. I'm
Right.
saying you don't get something the day you're diagnosed. Like,
Right.
if I was diagnosed at 33, goodness knows this probably was going on for a year at the least.
Right. That's a really good point.
And it took me a while to go, wait a second, what is going on?
Yeah.
It just so with Helen, so what happened with her?
So she was like, oh my gosh, maybe I have a thyroid problem. Like, oh, wow. Well, I'm going to go run right back to my doctor and tell my doctor, and my doctor's going to help me because I've discovered what it is. And, she was eager. She was excited. She went to her doctor with like completely pure intentions. Like, I think I figured it out, doc, please help me. But the doctor actually basically shamed her. He was rude to her. He was like, you are just upset that you're fat and you're trying to get a prescription for thyroid medication, but what you need to do is go on a diet and exercise. And it completely devastated her. Like, she felt completely demoralized. Like, she had been on a diet, and she had been exercising, and she had been doing everything that she could think of to get better, and that he was actually accusing her of wanting to take thyroid medication to speed up her metabolism to lose weight, which she didn't even know was a thing that people do.
So that's how she landed in your office.
So that's why she came to me.
Yeah. And see, this is what I'm trying to explain to people. Again, I do Chinese medicine. I've been with the same Chinese medicine doctor for 25 years now, and I've been with the same MD endocrinologist for 19 years. I've never changed. And I use both of them. So I
Yeah.
don't just take Armor Thyroid and call it a day. I
Right.
take Armor Thyroid and then I do everything I can to clean up my body, fortify my adrenal glands, keep my liver detoxified, all those kind of things.
Right.
So that's kind of the gist of today's show. So
Right.
I want
So Helen, just for the listening
Mhm.
audience, I'm not saying don't, for Helen, she just went to a different medical doctor that she had a better rapport with. And that's
Mhm.
absolutely what I encourage.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm saying follow naturopathic medicine and don't pay attention to the medical doctor. You need both, just like Tara Marie uses both.
I do them in conjunction, right?
Mhm.
And also my MD is really open minded. I tell him stuff that my Chinese medicine doctor says, and he's like, "Oh, okay." He's real.
Yeah.
He's real. You've got to find
You
somebody.
got to be in charge too of your own health and
Right.
communicate like
Yeah,
Tara Marie.
yeah.
And you have to find someone who's more open. I mean, this between Helen and her doctor must have been a personality conflict more than
Yeah.
maybe an MD thing.
Yeah, I would have had
She
something
just
to
has
tell
to
him.
find
No.
an MD that she likes
I wish
better.
I had been in the room with Helen.
Yeah, and I just want to let you all know that Helen now has a 4-year-old son.
Oh, yeah. So Helen
And
got
she's-
pregnant. Yeah.
so Helen got pregnant and she's lost the weight. I mean, she gained the weight, of course, when she
Mhm.
got pregnant, but then she's working now
Yeah.
to lose it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
she's
that's
doing well.
it's always a happy story. You just have to take control and you've got to take the bull by the horns. And I always tell people, this is honestly how I feel. No doctor knows my body better than I do because I'm living in it.
Mhm.
If something's off, I don't tell me it's not off. That's how I feel.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to. So do you as a naturopathic physician, do you use blood work to test thyroid function like the MDs? I've never worked with a naturopath with blood work. I've worked with naturopaths for other things, but
Yeah.
do you use you request?
Yeah, I do. I request lab work.
Okay.
And in New York, it's difficult because the patient has to go through the medical doctor to get the blood work. They can't,
Okay.
unfortunately, go
So that's-
straight through me, like in the state of New York. But I know that there's Tara Marie listeners everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's some states where the naturopath could give you a direct
Requisite.
Right. But in New York, I have to send them to my endocrinologist friends
Oh,
to
I
get
got
the
it.
blood work. But yeah, I always request tests that are more than just the TSH, the thyroid
Right.
stimulating hormone. And actually, I have a list for Tara Marie listeners. I know you're going to talk about it at the end, but there's a handout for all you Tara Marie listeners out there that's
Of-
going to have ways to keep your thyroid in check, which we'll talk about, and also the list of the tests that I like people to ask their medical doctors to run.
Well, so what are the labs that most MDs do? Because I'll tell you, my MD does TSH, T3, T4.
That's great.
Yeah, he's very open minded. What do most of them do? They just
Most
look
of
at
them just do the TSH,
Oh,
I
dear.
find. And they might do
Okay.
TSH, and if that's abnormal, then they do a T4, which
Okay.
still isn't a good enough picture because T4 is what's called the inactive hormone, right? So we want to see what the active hormone levels are, which is a T3. So TSH, T4, T3. It's also really important for us to look at other hormones. Like
Mhm.
there's other things that can affect thyroid disorder, like, what is your cortisol levels like? Because cortisol will affect your thyroid hormone.
If
Also
you mean if
looking-
cortisol's high, so in a high stress situation.
Yeah, in a high stress situation. I mean, cortisol is a little tricky because people that have been stressed out for long straight periods of time, their cortisol actually drops really low. But we would, as a naturopath, you'd be able to distinguish,
Because I see, in the notes that you gave, you do a chem panel, a CBC,
Mm-hmm.
TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, free T3, free T4, T3 uptake, reverse T3, thyroid antibodies. That would be to see if the thyroid's attacking itself, right?
So there's like the kind of thyroid disorder that Tara Marie had is Hashimoto's, which is just one of several thyroid disorders.
Yeah.
And that one is an autoimmune disorder. So you have to look at the antibodies. And I've seen this
Okay.
also with some of my patients that are diagnosed with hypothyroidism, underactive thyroid, but there's an autoimmune component to it, but they've never been informed of that.
Right. My guy did. Thank God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank God.
Hashimoto's.
And I think a lot of it is because medical doctors, if it's an autoimmune type of thyroid disorder or a non-autoimmune type of thyroid disorder, the medication can often be the same. So they don't necessarily
Okay.
feel it's necessary to distinguish.
Okay.
But as a naturopath, there are two different recommendations. You know what I mean?
Got
There's
it.
recommendations that you follow specifically for an autoimmune thyroid disorder like Hashimoto's
Versus
just a slow thyroid.
Okay, and we're going to get into that. And
Yeah.
also, you do an adrenal stress index.
Yeah,
That's
adrenal
what I
stress
said.
index,
You look
yeah.
at you look at the adrenals and the interplay.
Yeah, because the same control center, your hypothalamus and pituitary gland,
Mhm.
which is basically right in the middle of your head,
Mhm.
in the center. It's like a control center, and it controls not just your thyroid gland, but it controls your adrenals and also your reproductive organs.
Mhm.
So we can see what's happening. And let me tell you, if your adrenal glands are affected, your thyroid's going to either kick in to try to make up for it, or it's just going to get exhausted because it's been kicked in, making up for the stress. And there's different things like cortisol and we're getting into some biochem here,
Yeah.
but basically when your thyroid spits out thyroid hormone, it spits out an active thyroid hormone and an inactive thyroid hormone,
Mhm.
but mostly inactive. Like 80% of the thyroid hormone that comes out of your thyroid is not active, and it has to be activated in the liver, the lungs, or the kidneys,
Okay.
right? So that's why we also, as a naturopath, we want to look at all those organs, because if your liver's overtoxic, if your gut's not working, if you don't have good kidney function, you're going to
Mhm.
have a hard time converting the
Yeah.
inactive into the active.
Got
Now
it.
it gets even more complicated, because if you've got stress happening, you're secreting excess cortisol.
Yes.
And cortisol will turn any of that active thyroid hormone into reverse thyroid hormone.
What is that?
That is basically when you take the active thyroid and you basically reverse it
To inactive.
to an inactive.
Okay, so
basically.
a lot of cortisol. Yeah, you're just like this.
Yeah.
It takes the active that your body's making and it deactivates it.
Yeah, because you're thinking your body's like, oh my God, she's so tight wound. Like, how can we chill her out? Oh, we can stop that thyroid hormone.
Got it.
Thyroid is responsible for metabolism, which is any kind of we think of metabolism as that thing that helps you burn fat or not, but metabolism just generally means like any chemical reaction in your body necessary for life, right? So the thyroid is in charge of making sure that you're doing all these chemical reactions to live, right? And then if you're stressed out, if you're like overactive like this, and your body's like, how can we calm her down? How can we stop this? We can
shut
the thyroid down, or at least change the hormone around. But then now you're like, sometimes your body overcompensates because it works on
pulls this too
feedback.
far.
Yeah, it pulls it too far before, and then you're all out of whack. There's just too much.
And that's why, and
then you don't have enough nutrition, and you're exposed to toxins. So
and you're what you are eating is horrible, and like that. To me, there's no mystery in my mind why I got Hashimoto's. I ate terribly. I lived on diet soda. I was, I did everything wrong that you could possibly do wrong and still look right. Does that make sense? I did everything that you could possibly do, but still look the part. And your body, again, it's interesting that you said that this Helen woman was 33, because then I was 33. I think in your 20s, you beat yourself up a lot with lifestyle, what you're doing, what you're eating, what you're drinking, maybe what you're smoking, things you're doing. And I think your body takes it. And right around 30, 31, 32, I think your body gets to a point where it says, okay, enough.
Yeah.
Like I can't
it's
do
like
this.
You're in your next decade, grow up a little.
I can't do it. I think in your 20s, I think a lot of us think that nothing can catch up with us.
Yeah.
And then right around 30, do you know what I mean? Do you have a lot of patients in their early 30s where it's kind of like life caught up with them?
You know what? It's so true, because most of my patients are at least in their 30s. I do have occasional patients in my 20s, but most of the time they're coming in 30, 40, 50, 60. Yeah. That makes sense.
And it's just a matter of when do you kind of notice? When do you go, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to feel bad all the time.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So, so insofar as testing, like again, you test the adrenals, you test all these things. This is other than just blood work. Do you do salivary testing, hair testing? What does a naturopath
Yeah,
do?
so naturopathic, I mentioned adrenal stress index. That's a blood test, but
Okay.
actually saliva for cortisol is much better.
Okay.
And saliva for hormones is much better.
Great.
So one thing though is in New York, and again, this is just for the New Yorkers, a lot of medical doctors don't acknowledge or really bother with saliva
No,
testing.
they do not. They do not.
So if I was a naturopath in a different state, then I would probably be running lots of those all the
Okay.
time. But now it's just harder for people in this state to get that because naturopaths can't order it and medical doctors don't really recognize it. But
I've
you
never
can
had
go
a medical
right
doctor.
over to Connecticut,
Yeah.
an hour drive or train ride and find a naturopathic doctor there who would easily
Who
run
can
for
order it.
you.
Yeah, I've never, and I know that salivary testing is good for cortisol.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the hormone thing. I thought it was blood. I thought blood was the gold standard, but now I learned something.
Well,
but
gold standard
yeah.
for medical doctors, but
No
it's
one's
really
ever-
much
yeah.
accurate with
no one's ever
saliva.
done saliva on me.
Yeah.
Nope. And again, I'm here in New York.
I also like to test for food intolerances, which is a simple finger prick test.
Oh, it is
Yeah,
finger.
it's a finger prick test. So technically, you could prick yourself and
Just put a little blood on a slide. Yeah.
and it's a test for 96 different food intolerances. So not allergies. It's it's not true allergies we're testing for, though some people call it food allergy tests. It's not really that. It's just a food intolerance. So your immune system is having a reaction to these certain foods, and it tests for 96 different foods. And then if you know that, then you know that these foods on this list that your body is reacting to probably are not so good for you.
Right,
And
and
if you take them out. And then also some people don't eat the foods that are good for them. So it kind of, since sometimes people think, oh, it's going to tell me what I can't eat. Sometimes it tells you what you should eat. Like
You mean
that's the good news,
yes, okay.
because you're not reacting to cucumbers. So eat more of those. You're not reacting to lettuce or kale or collards or chicken or whatever it is.
Part of why I think I need less thyroid medication now is because, again, I cleaned up what I'm eating. I took out all the crap, and when you take out anything made of dairy milk, when you take out anything made of wheat, when you take out all the sugar, when you take out those things, that's where a lot of the food intolerances come from. And by food intolerance, I'm hearing you say when you're eating things to which you don't have an allergy, where you have like anaphylactic shock,
Right.
or, but you have an intolerance, your body's constantly at battle with something.
Right, and
And
it's not like
yeah.
a full-on war like
No.
with an allergy, but
Right.
there's
There's
tiny
constant
biddles,
battle.
tiny
Yeah.
inflammations all over, but it's wearing
Yeah.
you down little
Yeah,
by little
and-
by little. And I do want to address something after our fat and detox, our detox
Oh,
fat
detoxification
loss.
and fat loss. Mhm.
One of your listeners contacted me and she was like, I don't understand how you and Tara don't ever eat sugar. Like, that's not possible.
She did
for
say
me."
that? She said that?
Yeah. And I
Oh, I
said,
never eat sugar.
yeah. And she said, she asked me particularly because, I have 5 daughters. And she's like, don't they even have sugar birthday parties?
Mm.
Well, my answer is like, yes, but that's it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they might have soda. They might, they might experience like
At a party.
at a
yeah.
party or something, but on their day to day, like 80% of the time, maybe Tara doesn't eat sugar 100% of the time, but at 80% of the time, my children are not eating sugar. So I'm not saying that you have to go cold turkey or else. I'm just saying the more you can cut it out, the better. And if you get to,
Yeah. I'm
if
cold
you're
turkey.
eating it,
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
eating it, if 70% of your diet is sugar, you're going to get sick.
Which used to be
that's
me,
just
yeah.
it. If
Yeah.
70% of your diet is healthy, good, clean stuff, you're going to be well. If you
Yeah.
want to, there's consequences to your
Well,
actions.
and
but if you do 100%, like you'll be like the amazing
Well,
fitness champion
No,
that Tara
the
Marie is,
reason I do 100%, look, I'm 52 years old, so I'm
Yeah.
not getting younger. We
Yeah.
realize that the calendar's moving in a certain direction. All I care about is feeling my best.
And
And
that's
also
the
I'm
thing,
vain.
too.
Also I'm vain. I want to look great.
And you do.
I want pretty skin. I want pretty hair. sugar ages you so fast. I want to do everything I can do because there's so much I can't control. I can't control when I walk out of the door and I'm blasted by the car exhaust of a city bus. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I can't control when I leave certain buildings and everybody's standing by the door smoking. I can't control it.
But you
I
can
can control what I put in my mouth.
And another thing,
Yeah.
Tara, when you were 33,
I was a hot
you
mess.
wanted that diet soda, right? But like
Lived
now
on
that
it.
you're 52, do you even want it?
No,
So
no, no.
That's the
I
other
d-
thing that I wanted to say to the listener.
But-
As you cut out sugar,
You
like
don't want anything. Yeah.
Yeah, my 14-year-old daughter, like
Yeah.
she'll have a bite of a donut and then that's it. Like she just doesn't want
Yeah.
more. She might want to taste it, but then like that, it's just
Yeah.
too much sweet for her.
You know what I do? When I honestly, somebody asked me this last week on the show, because I had a call-in guy, a guy who had written me a letter. He said, "What do you do when you're craving sugar?" When you don't eat any sugar, if you ever have raw organic cashews, do you know how sweet those are?
Yeah.
Raw organic cashews
Even almonds, yeah.
No, I think cashews because
Yeah,
they're very high in
and they're
yeah,
creamy.
Yeah, when I'm craving something sweet, I have a little handful of raw organic cashews. They taste like pure cane sugar to me because I never have sugar. Now, if
Yeah.
I had a donut and then cashews, I'd say, "What is Tara's whack?" But I don't eat sugar, so to me, a cashew is very sweet as compared to a Brazil nut, which is kind of bitter.
Your taste
So
buds
your
change.
taste bud. What I tell people is if you get off of it for 3 weeks
And you feel great, that's
if-
motivation.
Yeah, if you get off of it for 3 weeks, you lose the taste. Because I haven't had it in so long, I don't remember really what it tastes like, and I don't care. So that's funny that one of my listeners contacted you because I get the same thing. But again, I'm not ever saying be like me. I'm saying this is what I do.
Right, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
tell my children they can't ever taste soda.
Yeah, and my nieces and my nephews,
Yeah.
if they want to go to a birthday party and have some ice cream and cake, but I would never give it to them. I would
Yeah.
never, yeah. So I wanted to get to this. Let's just tell people the thyroid gland, it's obviously right here in the front of
Yeah,
the...
it's right here.
in the
and,
front. Well, for people who are just listening as a podcast, it's right at the base of the throat.
It's right at the base of the throat, and you
Okay.
can actually feel it. I suggest you take the flat part of your fingertips on both hands,
Okay.
and put it up there against the base of your throat.
Okay.
And you know the midline,
Yes.
maybe from the center of your chin. So on either side of the midline,
Mhm.
and you just kind of
Swallow.
will push that thyroid forward into your fingertips, and then if you push one side and then push the other side, you can kind of feel the tilt.
Like a little ball. Yeah.
You can kind of feel, and you can feel the wings because it's shaped like a butterfly,
Uh-huh.
right? And you can kind of feel those wings. If you push on the left side, you
Yes.
can kind of feel the wings push forward on the right side. And if you push on the right side, push in on the right side, you can feel the left one come out, you know?
And I just went to see my thyroid doctor. Today's Friday, the day of the pre-record. I went to see him on Wednesday, and that's what he does. He always does this, and he always says swallow for me. You want to force a swallow, and he always does that. And he said, and if he can feel it, if it's too big, obviously he's like, we got to look at those levels because it seems like it's overworking. If it's overworking, it starts to enlarge.
That's right.
Yeah. So if you can see yours, that's a goiter.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want to look at, start to look at people's necks, because you might be feeling your thyroid now and not really know what you're feeling. But, me, I know what I'm feeling because I've felt plenty of necks, and some of them have thyroid disorder and some of them don't. But another thing you can do is just even look visually at people. Like sometimes you can see a goiter. Okay. and
What about people who
sometimes
confuse a man with their Adam's apple? Do you know?
The Adam's apple is higher than
Okay.
the thyroid, and also when a man talks or swallows, the Adam's apple will move up and down, but a thyroid doesn't. A thyroid is a little flatter than
Okay,
that.
so
it's much flatter and wider
The thyroid is under the Adam's apple on a man.
in general.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing is looking at people's necks, like seeing if they have creases in their necks can also be indicative of thyroid disorder. I'm not saying if you have a crease in your neck, you have thyroid disorder, but this is very generally same thing. The other thing that I like to have people do is stick your tongue out in front of a mirror. And if you see scallops on the end of their tongue, can also be indicative of perhaps a thyroid disorder.
Yeah, my Chinese medicine doctor says that's spleeny. You're spleeny.
Yeah, and it's also adrenal function. So when you're spleeny, when your spleen meridian isn't working. You might need what they call more blood, more nourishment.
Mm-hmm.
Your adrenal glands or your kidney meridian also shows the scallop tongue.
Scallop tongue. It almost looks like the edge of a pie crust.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And then what else? Sometimes, like you had mentioned, the puffy eyes.
Yeah.
You might have someone with puffy eyes on top and under. Some of us
Yeah.
have puffy eyes under, but under and over, and even a puffy face, a puffier face.
Yeah, I tend to have
versus-
that. I tend to have that.
And
It's-
and you can even look at feet. Like if you're one of those people when you take off your socks and you have the sock line,
Oh.
that can also show that you're retaining water. Your thyroid will make you retain water.
Okay, so a slow thyroid will make you retain
a slow
water.
A slow thyroid.
So
yeah.
I wanted to say symptoms of I want to come back to the HPA. Symptoms of hypo. Hypo is slow. Tiredness. Again, I was just dragging.
And this is the most common.
Yeah, just dragging all the
Slow,
time.
Yeah, fatigue.
Going into depression, inability to concentrate. You're just, wait, I've read that sentence 4 times. What am I doing? Like the puffy eyes where it looks like you're almost like you have allergies. Loss of body hair. So like maybe women notice that they don't have to shave their legs as much. Maybe men think, oh, is the hair coming off from socks? But it's like that kind of thing. Dry, patchy skin, like does it look like eczema or is it just
Not
dry?
really, but you would see flakiness.
Okay.
You would see.
Weight gain, cold intolerance. I had high cold hands and cold feet. Elevated cholesterol. Why does the cholesterol go up? I didn't know that.
Well, it's just your whole your metabolism is slowing down, so your ability to process fats is, your ability to process fats is deterred, or is that the right word? Is you're not processing fats as much.
Oh, so you're not processing fats, so that it just kind of goes. It
Yeah.
sits. Your triglycerides probably also go up. They just
Yes.
sit around in the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, moodiness, irritability, the swelling, the goiter. Even I thought this was hoarseness or deepening of voice.
Yeah, I don't really know the
That's
mechanism of
wild.
that, but
That
it
is
happens.
wild.
I mean, sometimes the symptoms are really odd like that,
Yeah. And also what I noticed was hyperthyroid, which is too fast. Hyper versus hypo. Hypo is slow, hyper are very similar. Tiredness, depression, inability to concentrate. It's kind of the same.
So I sort of think of it as overactive is like your thyroid is getting jacked up. So you might think that you'd be full of energy, and some people are, but imagine being like that all the time. You're
Right.
just going to be exhausted eventually.
What's interesting though is for hyperthyroid, one of the symptoms listed is weight gain. How I would think that if you had a hyperthyroid, you'd be skin and bones.
Yeah, and some people do really lose a lot of weight.
Okay.
I've seen that. That's probably more common.
Okay.
But most of the time when someone has hyperactive thyroid or overactive thyroid, it's usually an autoimmune disorder. And sometimes autoimmune disorders, when you're attacking yourself, your body just has lots of inflammation, lots of confusion, that you end up sort of holding on to your weight. Like your body just kind of gets into this.
As a protection mode.
Yeah, like we don't need to mobilize fat stores right now. Let's just try to make sure she survives.
And that's of course called Graves' disease.
Yes.
And I knew one woman once. Tell me if this was. I knew one woman. She was very skinny, and her eyes were like bulging out of the
Yeah.
sockets.
That's
Is that
called exophthalmos, and that's
Okay.
also very common. You can really
Okay.
see it, and it can
Poor
reverse a
woman,
little
yeah.
bit when they get better.
Mhm.
The exophthalmos, the eyes bulging.
And of course, Hashimoto's thyroiditis are the same symptoms as a general hypo,
Right.
albeit for a different reason.
Right. So Graves' disease is overactive or hyper.
Yeah.
And Hashimoto's is underactive or hypo.
Yeah.
They're the autoimmune type thyroid disorders.
Well, let's talk about. Let's go. Before we get to that, I want to talk about the hypothalamus pituitary axis because you talk about that in the. Again, she teaches a lot. Where is the Open Center in Brooklyn? Is it?
It's in Manhattan. It's on 30th between Madison and 5th. Is it 30th or 33 or 31?
Oh, it's just over on the east side.
It's over on the east
near-
side.
I got you. Almost in Gramercy.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
The Open
location.
Center, yeah,
They have
yeah.
lots of amazing teachers there.
I should look into
Deepak
teaching it.
Chopra was there the last year, and also Marianne Williamson
Oh, wow.
was there.
And
Yeah.
Dr. Patricia P. Selassie.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, the HPA that you say that the hypothalamus pituitary axis is about a chain of communication.
Right. So basically, like I said, the HP axis, pituitary axis, it's a control center. So it's right there in the center of your head, like, um, right through like the third eye, sitting right almost at the top of the brain stem, right? So
Okay.
really right in the center. And the hypothalamus is like, a little nugget, and then down below is the pituitary gland, which is
Okay.
like a little pea, right? And it's basically like the hypothalamus tells the pituitary gland what hormones to release,
Okay.
right?
So let me say that. Okay, so the hypothalamus is kind of the control command center. The hypothalamus tells the pituitary what hormones to release.
Right, based on what the hypothalamus is seeing or the feedback it's getting back.
Okay.
Then the pituitary gland, let's say the hypothalamus is telling the pituitary gland, we need more thyroid hormone. There's no thyroid hormone in the blood.
Okay.
The pituitary gland says, okay, check, got it. So the pituitary gland sends a message to the thyroid, and the message is TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone.
Okay.
To do exactly that. Let me stimulate you, thyroid, to release some thyroid hormone.
Okay.
Okay. If you need more thyroid hormone, it's going to scream TSH. So TSH
gonna
goes
go up,
and
yeah.
up. And that's showing that your thyroid is under functioning.
Correct.
Because TSH is like coming as a scream, as a yell to stimulate that thyroid gland to release thyroid hormone.
Right. So just remember that when your thyroid stimulating hormone is high, it's because thyroid function is low, because the hormone's trying to do everything in its power to get the thyroid going. It's the same. It's very interesting. The women know this about fertility. When follicle stimulating hormone is high, FSH, you're leaving your childbearing years and going in toward menopause, because again, the body's doing everything it can to go, ovaries,
Yeah.
what y'all doing? What
Wake
y'all
up,
doing,
do
ovaries?
something.
Wake
But
up,
the
knock, knock.
ovaries
Yeah.
are getting tired
Yeah.
and older. I mean, unfortunately.
Yeah. All
You
right.
know?
So that's the HPA, the hypothalamus pituitary axis. And then the thyroid physiology. You say that you've already said this, but let's reiterate. Conversion of the thyroid hormone gets converted in the liver, kidney, and gut.
Right.
Which thyroid hormone? T4?
So let's back up. So then the thyroid gets the message that TSH is from the pituitary gland as TSH, meaning release your thyroid hormone.
Okay.
So it releases it as two different forms. One is T4
Okay.
and one is T3.
Okay.
Most of it is T4.
And that's inactive.
That's inactive, and a little bit of it is T3, which is active. So the active hormone is what you need in order to stimulate your metabolism to what it should be.
Okay.
And if you still don't have enough, you have to convert that inactive hormone, the T4, into the active hormone,
Got it.
T3. And the organs that do that are the lungs, the kidneys, and the gut. So,
Oh, it's not the liver?
I'm sorry,
Is it?
the liver.
Oh, okay, good.
The,
Okay.
Sorry, the liver, the gut, and the kidneys.
Got
I'm
it.
sorry, I don't know why I said lungs.
Got it.
The liver, the gut, and the kidneys. And so down here, not up here.
Got it.
And you have to have your liver functioning well, your gut functioning well, and your kidneys functioning well in order to do that. Now, in naturopathic medicine, we sometimes say, when in doubt, treat the liver and the gut, because I'm telling you, if your gut and your liver are not in order, like, it tends to cause a lot of issues.
But the
and
problem-
thyroid is one of them.
Yeah, but here's the problem. The way we eat, and I'm just saying in this country, obviously I have listeners, I've gotten email from all over the world. But like I'm saying, let's pretend I'm just talking, I can only comment on this country. We're eating like crap. This is probably why you're seeing more and more thyroid patients, because we're eating like crap. Our guts are a disaster areas. Come on. I mean, seriously. I was one of those people. I figured I was one of those people, if it was edible, I put it in my mouth.
Mhm.
Bad way to
But
think.
everything that's edible isn't always food.
That's what
and
I,
that's
but
the
if, I'm
problem.
just telling you
Yeah.
how I lived.
Right, right.
If it
and-
was edible, I ate it. And without it, my big concern was as long as I don't get fat. I never stopped to think, what about the insides? Do you know what I mean? Like I lived in a very I wasn't thinking. And now I've reversed all my thinking completely. I don't even worry about the outside. And it's funny, when you worry about the outside takes care of itself.
Yeah.
When you worry about the inside, your inside function, you have very little body fat, a lot of muscle, nice skin, nice hair. Whereas if all you focus on is calories and stuff because you're worried about the outside, it doesn't work out as well. Yeah. And this is where the show that we did, the detox and fat loss show, would come in, because we talked about detoxification, and that is very much liver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we live in a toxic world. So honestly, all of our livers are overwhelmed. So anything that you can do to support your liver, and I think if we have time, we certainly want to get to that.
Yeah.
So you convert from the inactive to the active hormone in the kidney, the liver, and the gut. And that in turn gets the active hormone, which is T3, gets put into your bloodstream to do what it needs to do. But then there's it can be free or it can be bound. And I don't know if I'm getting too complex here for your listeners, but you do have, I think of it as a little bus, a protein that is in your bloodstream that the active thyroid hormone will bind to.
Okay.
And when it's bound to that, it's not working. It's not working. So you need free T3. And that's why I request the labs showing the free T3, not just T4.
Can I ask you a question? Where you say here stress converts thyroid hormone into reverse thyroid hormone, is that what you mean, that it binds it to the protein and then it deactivates it?
It can actually, that's actually even a different thing.
Okay.
So it's basically, I guess why I'm telling everyone all of this, it's hard to get free T3, which is the active hormone, to really be present and available in your body, because it can get stopped in many places.
What causes it to get bound?
It can first not be converted.
Okay.
And then it can also be bound to a protein, and then it can also be changed into reverse T3.
Which is T4.
Yeah, which is inactive.
What
hormone.
causes it to get bound? What if? Because we know that stress converts.
Well, hormones. So, for example, if you have too much estrogen, which, if you listen to our fat loss class, or podcast, we talked a lot about estrogen dominance and how that's a big problem in this country, because there's so many things in our environment, like the plastics and the pesticides and the fragrances, that are like xenoestrogens. They're estrogen-like. So estrogen or estrogen-like substances will bind the active thyroid hormone to that protein.
Let me say that. Okay. Oh my God. Is that why more women have thyroid issues than men?
And more women are fatter. And
no, but is that why more women have thyroid issues than men? Is that it?
Well, I don't know if that's why, because there's actually more thyroid disorders on the rise, even in men.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's a contributing factor, because women in general have more estrogen.
Yeah.
Plus, it's an estrogen dominant society.
Okay.
So it's like they're really getting more and more estrogenic, where testosterone will convert to estrogen if the conditions are poor. But testosterone will make you unbind that. So, like when you do your bodybuilding and you're getting good rest as a female, you are creating more thyroid hormone, which can help you with burning body fat.
You mean more testosterone? Do you mean?
I'm sorry. Yes, more testosterone.
Yeah.
If you're sleeping well and you're eating right
and you're pumping iron,
pumping iron. That's why women who lift weights and do that will get rid of their body fat.
Yeah.
But it'll be really hard if you have a thyroid disorder.
So let me say this. Okay. Stress converts thyroid hormone into reverse thyroid hormone, meaning high cortisol, cortisol takes the active T3 and converts it back to T4. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's this other thing where a situation like a highly charged estrogen environment, an estrogen dominant environment would take the T3 and bind it to the protein. When it binds to the protein, it kind of becomes useless. It just circulates.
Okay. It's not active,
so that's why you also look at hormones and stuff
thyroid
like
binding
that.
hormone. Yeah, thyroid binding globulin, which is that protein.
Okay.
And we do also like to look at estrogen and testosterone, because like if you're low testosterone and lots of estrogen, you're going to have a problem, And men too, if they're low testosterone, they're going to have a problem.
Oh, I've had guys. I've had because I work with a lot of obese clients obese men, they start the extra body fat starts to produce and release estrogen in their bodies. It
Yeah.
starts to feminize them.
Right.
They start. I mean, it
I
takes.
mean, I mentioned this on our last show that I see subway signs for gynecomastia surgery, meaning
Yes.
men's breast reduction. I
Mhm.
never saw that 15 years ago. It's really getting worse.
Oh no.
And, and just to not confuse people, there is actually a lab test that will show you reverse T3. So when you have actual reverse T3, it'll show up in a lab. It doesn't just show up as T4. I know you're trying
What is
to
it? Oh, it's called reverse
reverse
T3 on your lab
T3
work.
on your
Okay.
lab
So on
work.
your lab
So-
work, look at it says reverse T3.
And that means that you're actually having thyroid converted to this reverse T3. It's not just getting converted back to inactive hormone. It's really a thing called reverse T3.
And what it means though is
Is
it's
yours-
dead.
It's dead.
It's dead.
And stress probably caused it. And
Ay
that's why the
vey.
lab tests are important, because you can distinguish what is going on. Is this a conversion problem? Is this a hormone problem?
Right.
Is this a stress problem? Or is this all of the above?
Right.
So that's why it's really great. Naturopaths really look into this stuff because it changes their treatment.
Right.
Where a medical doctor, it's not such a big concern because their treatment is a medicine,
Yeah.
basically, that treats no matter what your condition is.
It treats
right?
the symptom of either high or high or
Yeah.
low.
But the thing is, if we can and my medical doctors that are friends of mine
Mhm.
are happy, they're not going to look at the tests, but they're happy to run the test for me to look at because they
Right.
know that it's going to change. Like they might have some understanding of it, especially if they're reminded.
Yeah.
Maybe if they've been in practice for 30 years and they're not like really looking at all the nuances of all the different tests, they're not going to be so they're not going to be so concerned. But if they understand what a naturopath does and how it can help me treat my patients based on their the specifics to them, then they're happy to run the test. They just don't want to do it.
All right. So and then this is the list, and it's in the little thing that you're going to give my
yes,
listeners.
I'm going to
Okay.
give your listeners the list if they request it.
Yeah, if they
So
request
I don't
it.
know if you're listening. I need
We're
to
not just going to send it to you, y'all. That's not how we work.
and we don't know.
Okay.
Wouldn't
We
even
don't know
where to
y'all.
send it.
We don't
Yeah.
know y'all. All right. So okay, so I got that. I just want to quickly run through some thyroid conditions because obviously hypo is the one we've been talking about, slow, and I would imagine that's the one that most people
That's the most
present
common.
with. Hyper is rapid. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an autoimmune form of slow. Graves is an autoimmune form of fast. Would you explain what you mean by autoimmune? My understanding of autoimmune, the way I explained it to people, is it's where something I was doing and let's figure it out. I mean, like obviously now I know because in hindsight, but the way I was living, my body was attacking my own thyroid gland. Is that accurate? Or-
Yes, that's absolutely accurate. That's absolutely accurate. So you
Yeah.
talked about how you're gluten-free, and
Yeah.
gluten is one of the ones that's most associated with Hashimoto's. I'm not saying that everybody with
I didn't used to be.
Hashimoto's-
I didn't used to be gluten free.
Right. You're gluten-free now because you're taking care of your
Yeah.
particular body. And I'm not saying that everyone with Hashimoto's has a gluten intolerance, but it's the most common. I mean, it could be a dairy intolerance, it could be an eggplant intolerance like nightshades, but but Hashimoto's and gluten are very closely
That
associated.
is so interesting.
And the reason is
Yeah.
there's a component like the protein
Gluten.
Gluten.
Yeah.
which is the protein of the wheat that has a similar look to thyroid, right? So your
A look to the body. You mean
So your body basically, if wheat overwhelms your system, wheat isn't supposed to cross. Your gut is a tube from your mouth to your anus, and the only thing that's supposed to cross over from the inside of that tube to your body are nutrients, right? But when we have a food that we are intolerant to, it's going to cause inflammation and it's going to make that gut leak. And then so whole, particles of the gluten actually pass through and then they land in places like the thyroid.
Or the
Now-
joints, like
or
if
the
you have joint
joints.
pain.
And
Yeah.
then your immune system's going to go around and say, wait, this isn't Tara Marie. This is a foreign body. Let me tag it.
Yeah.
So the immune system starts tagging and it gets confused. It might tag the gluten, but it might also tag your thyroid. And then the rest of the immune system comes and says, kill everything that's tagged. And it starts attacking your thyroid. It's like a cross reaction. It gets confused and it says, is this gluten? Is this foreign? Or is this Tara?
So autoimmune always has to do with the body attacking itself. Now, in the
Yeah.
case of Graves' disease, I know you said in the slideshow, it was fascinating. That's when you give at the Open Center?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you guys
I'm
live
not-
in New
I'm
York
not
City, you're not
teaching thyroid right now.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
teaching actually brain health
okay.
and detoxification this winter, and I think in March.
And I'll
in
give
February
out
and
her
March.
website information
Yeah,
because
that would be great.
yeah, because if you're in New York City, I love you. I mean, she's just I've known
I love you, Tara. And I just want to thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, I
I'm
love
having
having
so
you.
much fun, and
I've
I
known,
love you
but
all.
I've known, and we love you, Chad. Chad's gonna get his feelings hurt if we don't include him.
Oh, Chad, I love you
we
too.
love you. We love you.
I love you too, ladies.
Okay, he's not even paying attention. Chad doesn't care about us.
Oh my God, do I care?
Chad, come
I've been
on.
closing the door to keep it quiet out here.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. All right. We love, but listeners are asking about you. Seriously, they're starting to go, what's the deal with Chad?
Imagine if Brad Pitt and Ed Norton had a child. That would be me.
Chad is very easy on the eyes, girls. And Chad, you're pretty single.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay. So
Pretty single.
one day, let me say it like this, keep listening to the show. And one day on a Facebook Live, Chad will bring you in.
I would love that. Yeah, just give me a heads up so I can get a haircut.
Okay. Right.
The joke is shaved.
Yes, there's nothing. Chad, let me put it to you this way. Chad don't spend a dime on shampoo.
Not for 10 years.
Chad don't spend a dime on shampoo.
Or
All
hairbrushes.
Or nothing. All right. So what I wanted to say is, como se dice? I don't remember what I was. Oh no, I've known Dr. Selassie since, Chad, I think 2008 when I started doing Invite Health. Because that's where I met her.
Okay.
Doing radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I met her. I think it was like 2008.
Yeah, I think that's right because my daughter was a baby. My second daughter was a baby when I started, and she's almost 10 now.
Yeah, and so I've known her 9 years, almost 10. Like it's just been a long, I've known her forever. But if you're in New York City and you can go to one of her classes, I would go because she's really great.
Please, I love teaching. It's fun. We have fun.
Yeah. All right. So Graves' disease. What precipitates Graves' disease if food intolerances precipitate Hashimoto's? What?
Well, I mean, like I said, we can't just put
just
everybody in
yeah.
a box that everybody with Hashimoto's has a gluten intolerance. And I can't say the same thing about Graves. But what I've noticed personally with Graves is a lot of my patients who have come in with Graves have had some kind of traumatic event
prior to the
onset of the diagnosis. And I've had at least 2, maybe even 3
first
responders to 911. 9/11.
Shoot.
I'm sorry, 9/11.
So sad.
And one woman was a veteran.
Yeah.
And
God
she
bless.
was over there in Afghanistan. So there's usually some component of traumatic people with post-traumatic stress syndrome. And one woman is a construction worker. She's like, I haven't had any kind of traumatic event, but she's been doing construction since she was like 20 and she's 35 now.
It's a rough job.
15 years. Yeah. So there's usually some kind of exposure. I had another steel mill worker, and he was exposed to a lot of chemicals, asbestos, things like that. So usually there's like a serious exposure to stress and or chemicals.
Yeah. And stress is chemical. Chemicals are stress.
Yeah.
So that you list other things, and these are things that you list in the thing as well that you're going to give my people. Yeah. You list these other thyroid nodules, subclinical hypothyroid, which is high TSH, normal T4.
People, this is a good one, thyroid nodules. So sometimes we get bumps on our thyroid, and it can make your thyroid levels on blood work completely normal and you can feel fine, but there might be a growth there. So, you want to just have it checked out. The worst it could be would be like a thyroid cancer.
God forbid, yeah.
But sometimes we just get growth.
I also wanted to mention, because I've known people like this, sublab hypothyroid, sublaboratory hypothyroid. You say normal lab values, but that you have symptoms of hypothyroidism, and this isn't something that MDs acknowledge.
Yeah, because they're not going to give you medication if there's no evidence on the blood work.
And I want to say, and I want to say this because listen, and I'm saying this as a patient. Are you a thyroid patient yourself or no?
No.
No. Okay. So I want to say this as a patient because only as a patient can you understand this. So when you do, like, when the doctors look at thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, there's a reference range. And I'm just going to make this up. Let's say the range is 1 to 4.
Well, that's
okay.
about right. I think it
Oh,
is 1 to 4.
Yeah, I'm just making it up off of my head. Maybe I've seen it. But let's say the reference range is 1 to 4. Okay. I'm a person, I'm talking only about myself here. When I'm normal, but closer to 4, I have all the symptoms of hypothyroidism. My doctor and I have learned over 19 years together. He and I are practically a married couple. Like, I've known the guy for 19 years. When I saw him Wednesday, I said to him, I said, "Doctor, do you realize when I started with you, I was 33 and you were like a 46-year-old boy, and I was, now I'm 52 and you're like 90." And so it was so funny because we just laugh about it. But we've figured out that if I'm normal, but closer to the higher end, I get all the symptoms. So what my doctor and I have to do is we have to dose my armor such that my TSH is normal closer to the other end. So I'm a person, I'm one of these people. Okay.
Yeah.
If you look at my lab values and I'm normal, everything's normal. What the hell's normal? What is normal?
That's like my patient where the doctor was like, "You're healthy."
There's nothing. There's no normal. There's no normal. Because when I'm normal, I have all the symptoms. So we've learned over 19 years together that we have to keep me closer to this end of the normal range. So that's the other thing I want to say. If a doctor says you're normal, but you still don't feel right, it may not be normal for you.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
So that's, I'm just saying, I have a feeling, I just have a feeling in my gut. There's so many people walking around in this category.
Yeah, and that's actually dubbed by or coined by a professor of mine in naturopathic medical school named Dr. Alan Gaby. He's actually a medical doctor.
And a
And
naturopath?
He's a medical doctor practicing more like a naturopath.
Okay.
But basically, sub-laboratory
Hypothyroid.
hypothyroid. There is also subclinical hypothyroid, which is where you have a high TSH but a normal T4. Now, you also have to be careful because a medical doctor might, they'll do TSH, and if TSH is abnormal, then they'll check your T4. And some medical doctors might say, "Oh, well, your TSH was abnormal, but
High.
your T4 was normal." And yet,
Yeah, but T4 is inactive, dum-dum.
right.
What-
So that's exactly my point.
That's what
so T4, so they'll say, "So you're okay," but T4 is the inactive form, and you could be, not converting. You could be stressed out, or you could have other hormones that are, so you might feel terrible,
Right.
but your doctor is not doing all the labs that he or she could do to make sure.
So the answer, once again, to the question is go see Dr. Patricia P. Selassie. All right, now I want to move on. I want to talk about some, let me see. I want to talk about some causes because we still also have to talk about as we talk about causes, we'll talk about solutions, okay?
Okay, that'll be great.
Yeah, because we've got about, oh, look, your daughter is taking, this is Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, everybody. She brought her teenage daughter. She looks like a teenager. Okay, you look 12, and your little girl she looks actually very mature for her age.
Yeah,
yeah,
she's
actually
14
very
going
mature.
on 40.
Yeah.
I was telling Chad that.
Yeah. She's a nice kid. All right, so root causes, we've already said toxicity.
Toxicity is big because, there's several things. The estrogen or estrogen-like substances that we talked about.
Yes.
But there's other things. There's the POPs, the POPs, the persistent organic pollutants.
Yeah.
So those are, they can resemble thyroid hormone and disrupt thyroid production. So that's the other thing, is these persistent organic pollutants can go into your system and then trip up the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus might say, "Oh, there's plenty of thyroid hormone. We don't need to tell the thyroid to secrete hormone." But what ended up happening is that there really wasn't any thyroid
But we
hormones.
talk about POPS on the show that we did before, the detoxification and fat loss.
Yeah.
Just go to TaraMarie.com, go to the all episodes page for Tara Marie Live, and it's there. Okay.
Yeah, so we can
you
talk
can
about
listen.
that.
But POPs are essentially, isn't that the phthalates and all the crap, all the chemicals that we're bombarded with?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
hate that. Okay, that it just-
There's also
yeah.
halogens like, fluoride, fluorine, bromide,
Chlorine.
chlorine, those things that are in our water and things that swimming pools, they can displace the iodine, which is normal you need iodine as a nutrient for your thyroid. So it can completely displace the iodine. And then the thyroid doesn't have the tools it needs to make thyroid hormone. We also talked about heavy metals. So heavy metals, mercury is a big one that can ruin the thyroid.
Yeah.
And you talked about treatment, and one nutrient that comes to mind that's really great for the liver is like cilantro, which helps mobilize heavy metals. So there you go, like eat some of that cilantro, eat some parsley and cilantro. They're greens. They'll support your liver to help you detoxify. They'll help displace and pull out that heavy metal that's in your body.
And also you say foods that support the liver. I eat it. Did you know I eat an avocado every day of my life? Did I tell you that once?
No, I didn't know that.
So I eat an avocado.
Those fats are so good for you. I had some just before here.
There are two circumstances under which I don't even eat an avocado every day of my life. Sometimes I have two. Because I eat a lot. Sometimes I have two, and if I can't get to the store, then there's none in my house. But if I can make it to Fairway, there are avocados in my house. I buy them 6 at a time so they can ripen. And if they're not ripe, put it in a paper bag, keep it on your countertop. But I have 1 or 2 avocados, whole avocados every day of my life. I put some pink Himalayan sea salt and pour olive oil on it.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah. But what do avocados and Brazil nuts have that detox the liver?
Avocado, they're different things. So avocado is just really healthy fats.
Okay.
If you have poor fats in your system, like you're going to have an unhealthy liver. If you're having good fats, you're going to have a healthy liver. Brazil nuts have selenium, which is one Brazil nut will give you a nice good dose of selenium.
Yeah.
And they're big nuts.
Yeah.
One might be good. And so selenium helps support liver detoxification. Selenium also helps the thyroid. So that's why I mentioned those particular foods. Greens in general are going to support the liver.
Chad, I've got a cough. Chad's not even there. Chad, you'll edit that? I just had a coughing attack. Yeah. I was sick earlier this week. I had a little sore throat, Chad.
I always get that.
Chad don't care. He's like, I'm not kissing you anyway, honey.
I care. I want you to sound good. What are you talking about? Of course I care.
Okay.
Only people who are hearing this are on the Facebook Live, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Facebook Live.
Okay.
All right. So let's continue when you're ready.
Okay.
Cough it out. Cough it out.
I'm ready, baby. Yeah, okay. So selenium. So Dr. Selenium, we've got Brazil nut. Selenium's good for cleansing the liver. Yeah, selenium is here. Zinc. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So there's other nutrients just in general that you need to have for your thyroid. Like you need to have selenium. You need to have zinc. Zinc is actually one of the most.
Well, we'll get to nutrient deficiency when we get to that. But selenium, you say, is good for cleansing the liver.
Yeah, and definitely needed for the thyroid.
And for nutrition, again, you have gluten, alcohol, caffeine, and sugar. All the things I used to live on.
Yeah. So they're gonna, if you're eating gluten and alcohol and caffeine and sugar every single day, 3 meals a day and snacks, it's not good for you.
You know what I used to call gluten, alcohol, caffeine, and sugar? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. That's how I used to live. No, when you're in college. No, I went through college. I lived on coffee, sugar, breads, pastas, everything made of gluten.
It's really easy.
And then I always had one of those red cups in my hand because I was always at a fraternity party. So it was alcohol. So I call that breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. That's how I used to live.
Yeah. And, it's not hard to eat that for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. It's harder to do what Tara's doing, but I encourage you to try it because I think of every meal as an opportunity for nutrition.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if it now instead of breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack, it's just breakfast, lunch.
I don't even I said the reason
we're not all like Tara.
Yeah, I hate feeling bad. When I ate badly, I felt so bad. I hated. I was tired all the time. And it's just, I'm at an age of my life. You get to an age in life where all your number one priority, by the time you're 52, your number one priority is feeling well. Or at least that's how it is for me. The only thing I really care about in life is feeling well, hoping I look good, my family's healthy. If those things are good, I'm set. You know what I mean? I don't care about, I just don't, it's not worth a Saturday night to feel bad all day Sunday. It's just not worth
Yeah.
it. But I also wanted to talk about number 2, again, the root causes, gut dysbiosis. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
What's interesting is all the things that we just talked about for number 1,
Mm-hmm.
toxicities create gut dysbiosis, which is
Yeah.
a toxic gut, a screwed up gut.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So we can screw up our guts.
Yeah.
It's easy. You can just go to the corner deli and find things to do
Yeah.
in there to screw up your gut. I mean, it's hard. Stress will screw up your gut too. I mean,
Right.
like you have butterflies in your stomach.
Mhm.
You know, it's there's a reason we have terms, we say sayings like that, like I had a gut feeling, or I have, because your emotions
Yeah.
can affect your gut,
So gut dysbiosis, if you have gut dysbiosis, good luck thyroid.
Yeah.
And that's again because you said that
Dysbiosis meaning like bad bacteria in your gut
Yeah.
versus the good healthy garden that we should be
with probiotics.
cultivating.
And also I want to say this, not to plug someone else's show, but if you're going, well, how do I fix gut dysbiosis? I did another show recently called The Mysterious Microbiome.
Okay, that would be
So go to, again, taramarie.com. It sounds like I'm doing a commercial. I'm really not, but these are good shows. It'll be good precursors to this show. If you go to taramarie.com, go to the all episodes page for Tara Marie Live. It's called The Mysterious Microbiome with Dr. Lori Shemek. You may have heard of her, Dr. Lori Shemek. Yeah, so gut dysbiosis. Again, though, if you clean up your life by cleaning up what you put in your body in the form of food and drink, and then you add things like probiotics, prebiotics, which we talk about on that show, it'll really clean up your gut, and you'll feel so much better. Stress, and you say this, almost all thyroid disease is preceded by stress.
Absolutely. I really think that. I think that, well, here in New York, I mean, it's so fast paced. I think that just because you live here and even if you like it, I mean, that's the thing is I'm finding lots of people that are like, oh, I'm so chill. I don't feel stress. Well, I mean, even the change in weather, our
Yeah.
body feels it. You're going through and up and down on the subways. You might get a thrill from it. The commute, the busyness, driving in your car. But honestly, your body does not necessarily agree with what your mind is saying.
And
Stress is stressful.
And here's what's interesting, and because I'm a tightly wound person, and I have to consciously work on being chill. I'm not naturally chill, and I've got to rev up to go approach life. I'm really tightly wound, which is not a good thing. I don't recommend it, but it's just the way I am.
Yeah.
I can't help it. But I found that the pace of New York doesn't do anything to help that, because I'm surrounded by people who are like that, and you can get really caught up in it. So I've had to really work on checking in with myself and going, Tara, there's no fire. Come on. Because I make mountains out of molehills. I can take any little molehill and turn it into a big, huge problem. That's how I was born. And so I have to really go, Tara, come on.
Yeah.
There's no fire here, because is it really seriously worth your health?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then nutrient deficiency. And I was pleased to see that one of the nutrients that you talk about for thyroid health is magnesium.
We could do a whole show on magnesium. Magnesium is one of the most deficient nutrients that we as humans have.
And I read something like on the planet, probably 90% of us are magnesium deficient. Why?
Yeah. Well, we've ruined our topsoil. We've put lots and lots and lots of chemicals again into our topsoil. We're growing on the same land over and over and over again, and we're only injecting the nutrients we need to make big produce.
Okay.
But honestly, so that's another reason why if you can eat organic, it's good, because organic farmers, they try to rotate fields and they try to give nutrients to the soil to grow versus using chemicals to make produce large. And so we don't have as much magnesium in our food supply anymore.
Okay.
You know,
When do you think
plus
that's
we need magnesium to handle stress, and our society right now is dealing with more and more stress than we've ever had to deal with. So not only do we have less of a supply, we have more of a demand.
okay? So, and I don't know what you use. Do you supplement with magnesium?
I do,
I
yeah.
use Natural Calm. Do you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know that. It's like a
it's a
blue
powder. Yeah,
label. Yeah.
yeah. So it's by Natural Vitality, and I don't get a kickback. It's just this is what I use, and people have asked me on Facebook before. So it's called Natural Calm by Natural Vitality, and you can go to the most health food stores. I see it everywhere, and it comes in different flavors. I get the plain one, and it's like a little powder.
Yeah.
And you just put it in a cup, and then you pour a little bit of hot water over it, and it fizzes, and then you can let it cool down, and you just drink it. And
Yeah.
I split my dose, half in the morning and half in the evening. Magnesium is responsible for, I think it's over 300 enzymatic functions in the body.
that we know of. So it's probably
Yeah.
important for most. I mean, I use a powder too. It's by Nutrimetrics, and it's an isotonic formula, so it's like the same tone as your plasma. You mix it with 2 ounces of water, and I just shoot it at night, and I like
Helps
to take
you
mine at
sleep.
night because it calms me down for
Yeah.
sleep is a challenge in my life ever since
Because
I
you have
my
5
baby.
babies.
Yeah,
How old's the baby?
the baby is 10 months old.
Oh,
But
so
her and I were
sweet.
sleeping together, and she's waking me up every minute.
So sweet. Is she still
And-
nursing? Are you
yeah,
still you still
yeah,
nurse her? Oh my
yeah.
God.
So I take magnesium
Yeah.
at night. I don't take it in the morning. In the morning, I have no problem. I want to take all my magnesium at night so that it just calms me down. And
I want to tell people though, the reason I split it up because I like to have my dosage that my Chinese medicine doctor recommended, but it loosens up bowel function. So in other words,
right. So
yeah, if you take it all together, if you have loose bowel function, you could. Before you stop taking it, you could say, well, I'll have half in the morning or half earlier in the day and half later. You could,
it depends. I don't
Yeah.
have any issue, but I think my isotonic formula is just so absorbable. It becomes a laxative when it sort of stays in the lumen of your gut.
Got it.
So I think that's why. But some people, with, for example, thyroid dysfunction, they might want their bowels to loosen up. Somebody who has naturally loose stool, then you do probably need to split it up like
Yeah.
Tara. So,
Yeah.
but there's nothing wrong with when you take magnesium and it causes a looser bowel movement. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong there. It's just incidental.
It's what magnesium
It's what
does.
magnesium does. So that's another thing.
And
that
magnesium
you
helps
can
thyroid
relate.
function.
Yeah, and it helps thyroid function. And remember, if you have underactive thyroid, sometimes you get constipated.
Okay.
So magnesium, you're really supporting your body.
And iron.
Iron is necessary. So if you're a woman and you're anemic, if you have a heavy menstrual cycle, even if you're borderline anemic and you have thyroid disorder, which I've seen, you're going to have to correct that anemia,
Okay. And I've always learned that you can feel the symptoms of anemia before you show up as anemic, like almost like a
and,
subclinical.
I know that, you say you're 52 and you just want to feel well. I think that there's a lot of us out here. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just trying to show what I see in my practice. I think there's a lot of people out there that are unwell, but they don't even know they're unwell.
Oh,
like
that
they're
yeah,
exhausted.
Right. You think this
They're
is just
tired.
how you,
Their brain, but they just think like, oh, it's because I haven't had my morning coffee,
Right.
or everyone else is probably tired just like I am.
Right.
It's like sometimes I've seen women with anemia and they're like, I'm not tired, but they're like space cadets in my office.
A lot of people have said this. I've heard this before. You don't know how badly you felt until you feel good, and you can
better.
go, wait a second, I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel. That's why I eat the way I do. I don't want to feel the way I felt in my 20s and 30s.
And
I just don't
you
want to.
also just feel great, right? So
I
you just
feel
great.
I have
and you
high energy. I have high energy. I like the way I look now better than 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I had more body fat. My skin was a bit of a mess. I just wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I really think people think that they get uglier as they get older.
Older's better.
I
Yeah.
even there's this famous preacher. I don't need to name names because it's not about him.
Uh-huh.
But he talked about how with each of his books that come out,
Uh-huh.
he said something. His daughter said something to like, "Dad, you're actually getting more and more handsome." And he was like, "Yeah, I mean." I think
Age
it's
is good.
possible.
Age
I
is
think
better.
it's really
Yeah.
possible.
Getting
Yeah.
older is much better. Just trust me. Now you say iodine. You say too much or too little cause problems. Be careful.
Yeah. So I know that there's lots of people out there that really support iodine supplementation, which is another nutrient that most or a lot of us are deficient in. I don't know if it's most of us, but a lot of us are. However, I have seen it where people have overdosed on iodine with an underactive thyroid and then given themselves an overactive thyroid,
Which you don't want.
which you do not want.
You start to lose bone.
Yeah, you start to lose, you start to age in a bad way.
Yeah.
You have accelerating aging.
Can I
and
tell you a
it's not
dirty
good.
secret? In the world of competing, because I'm a figure competitor, figure is different than bodybuilding, but it's kind of similar. But we just wear high heels. We just look a little different. But in the world of competing, I shouldn't say this. In the world of competing, a lot of competitors take extra thyroid medication to get really lean. But the problem is when you have an overactive thyroid, you start to lose bone, and I would rather have my bones than win a contest. So
Yeah.
I'd rather have
That's
bones.
like that doctor. He was accusing Helen of
Yeah.
trying to get thyroid medication to lose weight. That's
yeah.
not a good idea.
So iodine. Okay. So iodine. You know what I do? I take I take one kelp capsule.
That's a really
day.
great way
One.
to supplement because you know kelp, you're not supplementing with iodine, you're supplementing with a food.
I take a kelp, an organic
Yeah.
kelp capsule every day.
And I encourage people to eat
Okay.
seaweed. I mean, like, I know that our waters aren't really the cleanest, but you want to get as much of your nutrition that you can from food or food and supplements if you can't. I mean, we can't get all our nutrition, so I do supplement a lot too. But anytime you can get it from something like kelp versus straight iodine, I think is great.
What I do is I just, again, health food store. I think the brand I use is maybe Nature's Way. It's just organic kelp. And my Chinese medicine doctors like me to take just one. But that's what I take. Also, tyrosine, N-acetyltyrosine, I actually take it for brain chemistry to keep my dopamine levels stabilized, but it's also good for the thyroid.
Right. Absolutely. And
What-
I mean, I hope some of you are making these connections. Like with thyroid disorder, you're gonna need magnesium, and you might also be stressed out. And you might also be constipated. It's the same thing with tyrosine. Tyrosine restores dopamine levels, but also when you have a underactive thyroid, you're going to get that brain fog.
But what
It might
tyrosine
also have to do with this nutritional deficiency.
Does N-acetyltyrosine, and it's an amino acid, does it aid conversion of T4 to T3? What is N-acetyl?
I think it just helps you to make thyroid hormone.
Which T3? The active one?
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
it helps the thyroid to make maybe both T3 and T4.
Okay. And there's some other supplements here. We only have about 4 more minutes, so I just want to get into this. Another reason. Okay, so stress nutrient deficiency. The fifth cause is hormonal imbalance, which we've already talked about. An infection. What kind of infection?
So sometimes just a viral infection. I've seen there's another condition of the thyroid called thyroiditis, which we didn't actually talk about, but it's basically a very acute situation where your thyroid levels go all haywire, and that can just be caused from a virus. It's not very common, but I've seen that in my practice too.
And then
then sometimes after this virus, they'll get hypothyroid where they didn't have it before.
Oh, yeah.
So they get sick, and they might even have panic attack. Like the patient I had, she got sick. She was in the ER. She felt like she couldn't breathe. She was having like panic attacks. And then when they tested her, her thyroid was overactive.
For a little while. Yeah.
Right. For a little while, like 2 weeks. And then she now is dealing with hypothyroid. She's managing her hypothyroid, and she never had an issue before.
Okay, so the virus
So-
attacked her. She went into hyper, and then then afterwards it's hypo.
Yeah.
You say in the solutions.
I mean, other things like Lyme's, Epstein-Barr virus, these kinds of
Which
things
I've had
can
both, yeah.
affect your thyroid.
I've had
you know.
both. Yeah. I should write a book about all the
You
crap
should.
I've had.
When's the Tara Marie book coming out?
It would be I'd call it The Nightmare by Tara Marie.
Yeah, we can. But it sounds like
Yeah.
a juicy story, and look at you now.
I've
you
had
know?
but I've had Epstein-Barr virus. I've had Lyme disease because I got bitten by a tick. I've had anything that could go wrong. I've had, anything.
Yeah,
But it's
I
because
think your
I
story is
didn't know. I
important.
didn't know. I mean, you know what you know when you know it.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, we're almost done. So I want to just in the solutions for transforming your thyroid, obviously getting rid of stress,
Yeah, lots
being
of
meaningful.
self-care. Self-care I hear is like a buzzword now all
Mhm.
over social media. So self-care, what does that mean? It means like take a class in like singing bowl therapy or do something very
Do something
common
just
like
because you want to,
massage
just
or
because you want
yeah,
to.
walk in the park or cuddle on the couch with your dog or your significant other or your kids or
Yeah.
like take,
Yeah.
take the day off,
Just because you feel
'cause
like it.
do it for you.
So we already said supporting your gut, and again, for the fermented foods,
Probiotics,
probiotics.
fermented foods, getting rid of the food intolerances.
Yeah. And mindful eating, would you call that like what I do where I have a reason for eating or what?
Yeah, mindful eating, it includes all of that. Like
Okay.
you want to eat to be healthy, but you also want to take the time. I mean, you see New Yorkers on the run, they're
Eating while on the
believe me, I'm
subway.
guilty
Yeah.
of this, but I've eaten on the run, eating while you're driving, standing up at your kitchen counter eating. It's great when you can sit down with a companion, sit down with your girlfriend, sit down with your family,
Mhm.
and don't have the TV on and don't have your smartphone in front of you, and just really
Be aware that you're eating. Be aware. Yeah. I used to eat when I was doing full fitness instruction, I had to go from class to class. I would eat on the subway in between things, I would eat on the subway in between going places. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. It was just redonkulous. All right, so we got to finish here. So I just wanted to ask you, how do we do a liver massage? How do you
Yeah, so
massage your
you
liver?
can massage your liver and that will help support and stimulate your liver. So
What-
you basically, your liver's here on the right-hand side and it's
Okay.
a little bit under your rib cage. It's a fairly large organ. And some
Okay.
of you, if you kind of dig under the rib cage, it'll feel a little funny.
Okay.
That means you've probably hit your liver.
Okay.
So you can do several things. You can lie on your, you can lie on your back, you can lie on your right side, on your left side, but you basically want to just take, even the knuckles of your thumb and kind of rub back and forth right under the rib cage. And even if you can get up and under the rib cage, you just want to do whatever you need to do to
Like little
massage
circles.
it and stimulate
Oh,
it.
okay. I gotcha.
Another thing is you can thump it. I don't really, you can
But
thump
just
your
literally
thyroid.
rub.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend sitting up like how we were. I would recommend being on your
Oh,
back or
okay.
being on your right side or your left side, and your liver will shift
Okay.
depending on what position, and then actually just rubbing it. That's like self-love,
Yeah.
You could be stimulating your liver and giving yourself
Why
self-care
not
at the
sit
same
up,
time.
doctor?
Just because you're not relaxed, when
Okay.
you're lying down, you're relaxed, your liver will kind of lean forward if you're in a lying position.
Okay. Is
y-
lying on
and
your
if
back
you're
is okay?
lying, if you
Okay.
lie on your back, you can actually probably access it more.
Okay.
So that's why. And I just want you to relax and do it.
And I also wanted to give this tip, and then we've got to wrap up. Be aware of the Dirty Dozen. I've written blogs about this. A lot of people have heard of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. If you go to the Environmental Working Group, environmentalewg.org, every year they list that year's Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. The Dirty Dozen represents 12 really nasty, heavy, pesticide-laden foods that if all you can afford is to buy these in organic, do it. Like
Right.
the way I do it is if it's on the Dirty Dozen list, I will not eat it in conventional because it's so laden with pesticides and junk. If it's not on the Dirty Dozen list, like if it's an avocado, for goodness sake, I scrub the avocado before I cut into it and stuff. But certain things that are on the Dirty Dozen list, I absolutely will not touch them with a finger if they're not organic. So that's the environmentalworkinggroup.org, EWG.org. And also quickly nourish your adrenals, and we'll wrap with this. Go to bed at a consistent bedtime. The adrenals are all about rest and restoration.
Yeah, rest and restoration. So doing that self-care, going to bed at 10 p.m. I think is an ideal, reasonable time. I mean, I think in the good old days before we had TVs and screens and smartphones and stuff,
Mhm.
we would go to bed when it's dark and wake
Mhm.
up with the sunlight. Now I think that people are going to bed at past midnight, and
Oh, I
that's
do.
just
Yeah.
really bad for your
Right.
adrenals. If you get 8 hours of sleep between like 3 a.m.
And
and
11
11
a.m.
a.m., it's not as good for your adrenals glands as if you went to bed at 10 p.m. and woke up at 6 a.m.
So try to go to bed because I'm
Because we're
usually
diurnal human beings. We're not like rats. Rats are up at night.
Mhm.
Humans are up in the daytime. So we wanna go to sleep with the rhythm of, it might sound a little woo woo, but like we are supposed to go to sleep with the setting of the sun, and we're affected by things like the moon and
for
darkness.
realistic purposes, because at 10 o'clock I'm usually having my dinner.
Yeah.
So in other words, go to sleep for someone like me as close to midnight as humanly possible.
Right. So if you have your dinner at 10 o'clock, exactly.
I need
and you
3
can-
hours before I can digest.
Right.
Yeah.
If you go to bed, let's say at 12:30 versus 1
Mhm.
a.m.,
Mhm.
that's going to be much better.
All
But
right, so
before midnight
is
is really
best.
ideal.
And
And
again-
10 would probably be ideal.
And eat protein in the morning. Just
Protein
to,
in the morning will support your adrenal glands. B
Yeah.
vitamins, supplementing with activated B complex, like the methylated B is. Eating really good food, going to
Yeah.
rest, getting that massage because you want to.
Yeah.
These things will support.
So
Taking a pause.
Yeah, the adrenal glands are all about rest and restoration. So listen, and also have fun, laugh. I want to quickly say this. So tell me about. Okay, we've got to end here. You're doing this for Tara Marie Live listeners.
Right. For Tara Marie Live listeners, I have a handout, and the handout's going to include the tests that you need to ask your medical doctor to run for you,
Okay.
and some of the solutions that Tara Marie and I talked about.
Okay, and what do? They go to
All you have to do is go to my website at drselassie.com. That's DOCTOR, Selassie, SELASSIE. And on the contact page, just write a quick email that says something like, I listened to your thyroid show on
Tara
Tara
Marie
Marie.
Live.
You
Yeah,
have to say Tara Marie Live, or I won't know.
because you don't have a code. Yeah.
Right. I don't have a code, and I won't know which thyroid class you went to. But and this is
Okay.
really for Tara Marie
Okay.
listeners alone.
So basically, again, it's drselassie.com. DOC, it spells out doctor SELASSIE.com. Go to the contact page and say, give me my thyroid handout. I heard you on Tara Marie Live. Say those words so you'll go, oh, it's that one.
Right.
Okay,
And
okay,
I'll send
I got
you the handout. And I also want to offer a free complimentary thyroid breakthrough session for any of you who thinks you might or knows you might have a thyroid disorder.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
And I just want to give a quick tip. I'm going to give a 30-second tip here because Chad's getting that look on his face. Listen to me. If you think something's off with your health, it probably is. I've known family members, I've known clients who knew something was wrong. They went to the doctor, all the lab work went fine, and they were sent home. It don't work like that. You live in your body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't ever let a doctor tell you that nothing's wrong when you instinctively know that something is. Find another doctor. And if that doctor doesn't say it, find another one and find another one. I like working with naturopathic physicians like Dr. Selassie, again, because they tend to look at the whole body and they look at how the organs work in concert, meaning with each other like a symphony, as opposed to taking it one organ at a time, which is not realistic. And also remember that there's no real such thing as normal. Remember I said when I'm in the normal range, but I'm in the high normal range of my TSH, I don't feel well. So figure out what works for you within normal. There's no real normal. Normal for me isn't what's normal for Dr. Selassie and vice versa. All right. So take charge of your health, take your control back, partner with your doctor rather than just sitting and listening to the doctor. Just speak up for yourself. And if you find a doctor who doesn't want your opinion, go to another. Just go to another doctor. There are doctors like Dr. Selassie everywhere. And Dr. Selassie is based here in New York City. And she also works, I think, via Skype and stuff like that. Yeah. All right. So let me do my quick outro. Well, that's all for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you'll join me next week. You guys, please rate and review Tara Marie Live on iTunes. And be sure to subscribe to Tara Marie Live using your favorite podcast app. If you do that, you never miss an episode. If you go to my website, taramarie.com, I've got all the subscription icons for Google Play and iTunes and RSS feed. Website is taramarie.com, TARAMARIE.com. When you're there, you can listen to all past episodes of Tara Marie Live. If you just go to the Tara Marie Live tab on the navigation and then go to all episodes of Tara Marie Live, they're all there. So you can just listen to them off my site. You can also download them and sign up for my mailing list. It says the little purple pop-up. It says join Tara Marie's mailing list. You'll get my tips, my Tara Marie's tips about nutrition and wellness and health and stuff. And also each week, every single week, I send out a notification about who the guest is, what the topic is, and I include a direct link to that show so you can easily access the show. And also connect with me on Facebook. It's Tara Marie Live. And Twitter is at @TaraMarie_live. And if you have a comment about this on Twitter, just go to, tell me what you think about the show. Go to, leave a comment, #TaraMarieLive on Twitter and join the chat. Make better choices today than you did yesterday, and you will always be moving in the right direction. I wish you love and luck, and I'll be back with you next week. Peace out.